Hello, and welcome back to the Horror Cave. In today's video, we're going to be kickstarting a brand new series called Scary Stories, perfect for the month of October. This week's video is going to be different from the previous video, and it's going to be two stories that are original from the Horror Cave. But first off, before we start, I just want to thank each and every single one of you for showing the support on the last video. I didn't think it was going to even get any views at all, but thank you guys so much for getting it up to, I think it's at 30 views right now, so thank you guys so much for that. Now let's get right into the video.
The following stories that you are about to listen to are completely fictional and original from the Horror Cave. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
It was Halloween night of 2007. I was getting dressed and ready to go on my way to go pick up my friend Christy at her house. I was really excited to show her my Jason Voorhees costume that I've been working on the past couple of weeks, so I hopped in my car, but before I could leave the driveway, she called me and said, "Hey Johnny, can you stop by and pick up my friend Margaret?" I thought about it and contemplated, but I then agreed to pick her up, so I drove over. Margaret lived in a very foresty area, and the only way really to get to her house was to take a very long and narrow road. And at night, there are no streetlights, and it is extremely hard to see the road. I was about 5 minutes away when my car spun out and crashed in a ditch. I got out of my car in pain, and I was terrified. I was covered in blood, I was half conscious. I believe it was around 9:30 p.m. at night. The last thing I remembered before passing out was a spiked strip in the road, as well as seeing a white van pull up. A black silhouette appeared and started walking my way. I then woke up in a warehouse. Must have been hours later, and I was strapped down to a chair. I saw the same chilling figure wearing a ski mask, holding a broken jagged piece of metal, and it looked like it came from my car. The person stared me down, leaning their head side to side, and they walked over, and I lost sight for a little bit. I think they went to their van, but I was unsure, but all I knew was they were out of my sight. I immediately tried to get out of the straps, but that didn't really work. But luckily, I remember I still had my cell phone. I tried to dial for my best friend, and that's when the kidnapper came back and looked at me and answered their phone. The kidnapper then said, "Hey Johnny." At that moment, I knew that this was a setup, and that the person who answered the phone 6 feet away from me was in fact my friend, Christy. I've worked as a prison guard for the past 4 years, and I've had some pretty interesting experiences, to say the least. Of course, with various inmates, but there's just one story that truly beats all of them, and that is my encounter with inmate 66. In the prison, there are over 6 sections, each with 2-story prison cell rooms, covering wall to wall. In the back of the prison, hidden from pretty much everything else, we have this corridor called Block Z. This is where we keep the most violent inmates who are a huge threat not only to us prison guards, but to inmates as well. The biggest inmate that kind of drew attention from all over the world is inmate 66. Inmate 66 is kind of a myth around here, and not many people truly know who he is or what he's in prison for. I've always worked in Block C for the most part, and that area's been pretty chill. That is until my boss called me in and told me that I'll be moving over to Block C the following day. As you can think, I was pretty nervous because I had no idea what to expect. But the first couple of days on Block C weren't too bad. I was mainly in charge of bringing the inmates their supper, checking on them time and time again, and that was it. A couple hours later into my shift, I was told to bring inmate 66 to the showers, and that's when the anxiety truly ramped up. I was immediately terrified, but I did as I was told. I put on my riot gear, and I went over and opened the door to inmate 66. I walked through the hallway, and the hallway was really, really quiet. Dark, no sound at all. None of the surrounding inmates and their doors were making any sound. I kept walking down, and that's when I reached his cell. It was very quiet, very dark, just like the hallway. I knocked on his door, and I said it's shower time. I unlocked his door, walked in, bracing for the worst, and he was just turned around looking at a wall. I was really shocked, though, what I saw when I walked in. A 6'7" man, easily over 300 pounds, ripped the sleeves off of his jumpsuit, and had long, dark, greasy hair that covered his face. He followed my directions, no problem, put on the handcuffs, and I walked him over to the showers. I let him have his privacy, so I waited right outside of the door, and no less than 2 minutes, he grunted and yelled. He screamed, "It doesn't work. There's no water." So I walked in. I said, "What's the problem?" He started looking at me with the worst mad dog look I could have ever thought of. He charged me and threw me down. I hit the ground immediately, and he went right towards the main lobby. Now, the main lobby is where a lot of the prison guards like to hang out, chit-chat, and mainly where they go for on their breaks. I ran right after him, but not even 2 minutes after I got up off the floor, chairs were thrown everywhere, glass was shattered, and every single prison guard that was there were beaten half to death. I was terrified, and I honestly didn't know what to do when you would think you'd have backup. I saw him running down another corridor, so I chased right after him, and very faintly I could see that he was holding something in his hand. It turned out to be one of the key cards. I ran right after him, and he went into Block A, which is another one of our units where we keep some of the inmates. He locked himself in and walked right in, and all I could do was just look through the window. I tried radioing in, but nobody was picking up. As he walked in, all of the other inmates coming out of their cell doors were confused and wondering why and how is this new guy in there. I'm pretty sure they didn't even know who he was because nobody's really ever seen inmate 66 besides the prison guards. One of the inmates that was in cell block A walked right up to him, and you could tell he wasn't afraid of inmate 66 at all. Inmate 66 was just standing there, looking down at the floor, almost invisible to everything around him. The inmate in front of him kept mocking him, calling him names, making fun of his size, his height, and all around his looks. Inmate 66 looked up right at him, grabbed him by the throat, and threw him across the entire floor, hitting one of the benches that is inside cell block A. Right after that, all the inmates inside of cell block A started coming out, wondering where all this racket was coming from. They came down and must have been in a gang because they went to go make sure their friend was alright. And right after that, they immediately started charging inmate 66, but of course it was for the worst. Inmate 66 was beating each and every single one of them, tearing through them like it was nothing. Blood all over the walls, the floor, even the metal grate of the cell. Inmate 66 was standing right in the middle, and all these dead inmate bodies around him, almost like a circle. And he was looking right at me, but his hair was still covering his face. And this is when the most chilling part happened. He moved his hair away from his face, and I saw him, a man looking dead into my eyes. And he said, sometimes you just can't help it. And he grinned like a psychopath and just dropped on his knees and held his hands wide open, almost like he was just embracing what he just did. Finally, I was getting hearing static on my radio, and a prison guard ran right up to me, and he saw the horror that I did. The inmate that everyone's been talking about, the supposed myth, well, not anymore. Now I probably know why he came in here in the first place, because he just can't help murdering people. Sometimes you just gotta let things stay how they are, because when you deep dive into some things, you truly find out what horror can be. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. This was definitely a new series to the channel, so if you guys liked it, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you guys want to see maybe some other specific stories, some stories that you might have found on Reddit or any of the other internet forums, please let me know. You can always send me in on direct message through my Instagram at The Horror Cave, or you can even list them down in the comments below. And if you guys want to see that, maybe I'll put it in a future video. So that's going to be it for this week's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.